For the longest time, I truly believed I had everything a man could ever want. A stable job, a house I'd worked hard to pay off, and a wife I thought I would grow old with. On paper, we were the kind of couple that others envied. Friends would compliment us at dinner parties, saying things like, "You two are perfect together," or "You're the definition of couple goals." I would smile and agree, even as something inside me quietly twisted with uncertainty. It started as a whisper, a faint voice in the back of my head. At first, I dismissed it as paranoia, maybe a side effect of stress or burnout. But over time, that whisper grew louder. Louder every time she'd get a text and tilt her screen just slightly away from me. Louder every time she stayed late at work and came home with a vague excuse and an empty expression. Louder when she laughed at something on her phone, but not when I said something funny. She stopped looking me in the eyes, stopped kissing me goodnight. I felt like I was living next to a stranger who wore my wife's face. I didn't want to believe it. I fought against that voice. I told myself I was imagining things, that she loved me, that this was just a rough patch. But then came the moment I couldn't ignore anymore. One night, she left her phone charging in the kitchen while she showered. I stood there, staring at the glowing screen like it was radioactive. I knew the passcode, of course I did. We were supposed to trust each other, right? Still, my hands shook as I unlocked it. I scrolled through her messages, her emails, her apps. My heart dropped into my stomach when I saw the hidden folder, tucked away behind a calculator app. Inside were hundreds of photos, messages, screenshots of conversations with usernames I didn't recognize. But one name appeared over and over again, Jason. And the messages? They weren't just casual flirting. They were intimate, emotional. They were mocking me. She called him my real man, said I was just a safety net. They made plans, joked about lying to me, about how clueless I was. I had never felt so small in my entire life. In that moment, I realized the woman I loved, the one I married and built a life with, wasn't just cheating. She was betraying me with intent, with planning, with joy. And I wasn't going to let it go. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, phone still in my hand, reading and rereading every vile word they exchanged, every joke they cracked at my expense, every little digital dagger she had shoved into my back without a second thought. The betrayal wasn't just physical. That would have been painful enough. But what crushed me was the realization that she no longer saw me as a person. I was a prop in her life. Someone to smile with at family gatherings, someone to take vacation photos with, while her real desires, her real affections, were being poured into another man behind my back. I was a placeholder, a fool. But I'm not the kind of fool you can laugh at and walk away from. I knew I had to be smart. There's no satisfaction in exploding in a fit of rage, screaming accusations, only to have them lie and deny everything. No, if I was going to end this, I was going to do it in a way that left no room for escape. I was going to destroy the fantasy world she built for herself, with facts. So I started by hacking into her phone completely. I'd done IT support in college, and thankfully still remembered more than enough to get into her backups, her Google accounts, her cloud storage. What I found there made my stomach turn. Photos, videos, voice notes, secret Instagram accounts, an entire hidden life that she had carefully constructed while pretending to be my partner. Some of the content was so graphic, so personal, I had to close the laptop and step away just to keep from vomiting. She wasn't just cheating with one man, there were others. Jason was just the main event, the headliner, but there had been warm-ups. Multiple. At this point, the pain began to fade, replaced by something colder, clearer. I wasn't going to beg for answers. I wasn't going to confront her with shaking hands and tearful questions. I was going to turn the tables. I made backups of everything. I copied every chat log, every photo, every video. I cataloged them by date and name. I even took screenshots of her GPS history. And when I say I built a case, I mean it. I had timelines, corroborating evidence, IP logs, locations. I was no longer just a betrayed husband. I was her judge, her jury, and I was getting ready to sentence her whole world to burn. I acted normal for the next week. It was the hardest performance of my life. Harder than any college presentation, harder than any boardroom pitch. I woke up next to her every morning, kissed her on the forehead like nothing was wrong. I poured her coffee. I asked about her day, all while the images of her wrapped around other men burned behind my eyes like a brand. But I had to stay calm. Every moment, Every smile I gave her was a setup, a final gesture before the curtain dropped. She didn't know it, but her entire world was about to come crashing down, and I wanted her to walk straight into it, unaware and unprepared. While she was planning date nights and pretending to be the perfect wife, I was preparing my arsenal. I met with a divorce attorney, one of the best in town. I laid out every piece of evidence like I was presenting a criminal case. My lawyer sat in silence for most of it, only occasionally letting out a quiet "Jesus" as she scrolled through the screenshots and emails. Get everything in writing, she told me. Play along. Smile. Don't let her suspect a thing until the papers are ready. You've got her cornered. Now you wait. And so I did. Behind the scenes, I was doing more than legal prep. I reached out to Jason's wife. Yes, he was married too, with 2 young kids, no less. His wife, Emily, had no idea her husband was living a double life. I debated for days whether to tell her, but in the end, I decided she deserved the truth more than anyone. So I sent her a message. I didn't just say, "Your husband is cheating." I sent her the full file. Screenshots, times, videos, chat logs, proof that couldn't be denied or twisted. Her response? Silence at first. Then, a day later, a single message, "Thank you. He's not coming back into this house." I could almost feel the ripples of destruction spreading outward. My wife's lover had just lost his home, his kids, everything, and he didn't even know why, not yet. The trap was still invisible to them. I started leaving little clues for my wife. Tiny, insignificant things, or so they seemed. A comment about privacy, a question about fidelity. Watching her reaction, the flicker in her eyes, the moment of hesitation, it was like watching a cornered animal sense danger. But still, she said nothing, lied with a smile, pretended like everything was normal. And so I played along, for just a little longer. Because the big moment was coming. And when it hit, it was going to be nuclear. The day finally came. It was a Saturday. Calm, sunny, a perfect illusion of peace. She suggested we go out for brunch, like we often did. French toast, mimosas, fake laughter. I agreed with a smile, knowing that by the end of the day, she wouldn't be able to eat, let alone smile. She had no idea that I had already served the divorce papers through my attorney that very morning. They were scheduled to arrive on her desk by noon, certified, documented, signed, sealed. We sat across from each other at the cafe patio. She looked radiant, glowing even, probably thinking of Jason or whatever filthy secret she was hiding behind those carefully painted lips. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm really happy we've been reconnecting lately," she said. I stared at her, the audacity of it. The cold rage simmered beneath my calm expression. "Me too," I replied. "It's been enlightening." At exactly 12:04 p.m., her phone buzzed. She glanced down casually, expecting some pointless notification. Then her brow furrowed. Her face paled, and I knew it had begun. The moment her eyes scanned the subject line, "Dissolution of marriage, notice of filing," I watched the blood drain from her cheeks. "What's this?" she asked, her voice trembling. I didn't answer right away. I took a slow sip of my coffee. Then I leaned in and said, quietly, "That's your official introduction to reality." She laughed nervously, assuming it was some sort of mistake. Then she opened the attachment. There it was, line by line, everything she'd done, everything I'd documented, every message, every lie. Her face contorted. Horror. Shame. And then, of course, the anger. "You hacked me. You spied on me. Oh, don't turn this into some performance about privacy," I said, leaning back. "You lost the right to claim that the second you invited 2 other men into our marriage." People at the tables nearby were starting to notice. She was panicking now. Her mask was slipping fast. I stood up, dropped a $100 bill on the table, and said, "You might want to get the check. This is the last meal I'll ever buy you." She followed me to the car, still shouting, still trying to spin it. "We can talk about this." It didn't mean anything. We were going through a rough patch. But I was done. The door slammed behind me. I drove away as she stood on the sidewalk, still yelling, mascara streaking down her cheeks, phone clutched in her hand like a grenade that had just gone off in her life. And I didn't look back. Not once. The divorce proceedings were brutal, for her. I made sure of that. I came to court armed with everything. Screenshots, chat logs, timestamps, even video captures from the hacked cloud. I had a digital timeline so complete, so undeniable that her lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. My attorney barely had to speak. The evidence screamed louder than any argument. She tried to cry, play the victim, said I was invading her privacy, said I set her up. The judge didn't buy it. Not 1 second. I was awarded the house, the car, the assets. She walked out with her clothes, some jewelry, and a rented apartment with no furniture. And Jason? Turns out his wife found out everything too. I had sent the same folder to her, anonymously, of course, with a polite message. You might want to know what your husband's been doing at work after hours. She filed for divorce within a week. Jason lost his family and half his retirement savings. The other guy, Marcus? He worked at a financial firm with a morality clause. Once his employers saw the texts about naughty business trips with my wife, he was fired. Immediately. 3 lives shattered. Not out of vengeance, not exactly. Just correction. She reached out once after everything was finalized. Just one message. Can we please talk? I messed up. I didn't think it would end like this. I didn't reply. Because she was right. She didn't think it would end like this. She thought I was weak, gullible, easy to deceive. But I had been watching, planning, gathering every thread of truth while she danced in her fantasy. And in the end, I didn't just walk away. I made sure the world she built on lies came crashing down around her. Without mercy, without regret.